Welcome to TechNauts, a podcast by Invito, where we explore how innovation works in practice. Today we're talking about modernizing legacy systems. Enterprises are spending 70 to 80% of their IT budgets just keeping their legacy systems alive. That leaves little room for innovation, AI adoption, or rapid delivery. But here's the challenge. Outdated infrastructure is often so deeply embedded in daily operations that replacing it overnight isn't realistic. And yet, leaving it untouched only deepens the problem. But how do you modernize systems that simply can't afford to fail? In this episode, we'll explore 3 practical ways to modernize legacy applications without putting core operations at risk. We'll also look at how to build a strong business case and what it takes to prepare your organization, both technically and culturally, for what's next. So let's get into it. More than 70% of the software running at Fortune 5000 companies is more than 20 years old. Much of it was built long before today's expectations for cloud-native, mobile-first, and security-by-design architectures even existed. Yet it still underpins core operations. Legacy systems have fallen fundamentally out of sync with how businesses need to run today. They lack the ability to integrate with modern applications, suffer from security vulnerabilities, and limit the scalability of digital transformation efforts. Their codebase often relies on old programming languages, making even small changes risky and time-consuming, stretching quick updates into month-long projects. And the cost goes far beyond technical debt. Companies lose momentum, fall behind competitors, and miss opportunities like launching digital revenue streams, building data-driven services, and automation, enforcing modern security models to protect critical data at scale, or adapting products to fast-changing customer needs. They also risk losing out on talent because today's top professionals expect up-to-date tools and workflows. The other thing is the complexity of the legacy modernization itself, because transforming systems that are deeply embedded in daily operations is anything but simple, especially in larger organizations. Managing an enterprise technology landscape is a constant balancing act between 2 opposing priorities: keeping mission-critical systems running and launching new capabilities that drive competitiveness and growth. The goals are clear: shorter release cycles, real-time data, regulatory readiness, and an open runway for AI. Reality is tougher. Most resources vanish into keeping the lights on. Knowledge is trapped in code few developers dare to touch. Every change risks downtime. Each decision feels like a trade-off between speed and stability, innovation and operational safety. No wonder leaders feel stuck. Studies show 67% would gladly replace their core platforms, 70% still want to squeeze more value from them, and 50% admit they want both at the same time. This shows just how tangled the problem is. Companies crave the freedom of a clean slate without losing the reliability they already have. But turning that desire into action takes more than good intentions. One major obstacle remains: alignment. Without clear support from the board or CFO, even the most urgent modernization plans can stall. Many organizations hesitate to modernize, especially when systems seem to be working and overstretched IT teams are busy just keeping them alive. Some boards don't sense the urgency. Others focus mainly on risk. In this context, the question shifts. It's no longer whether to modernize, but how much longer can the company afford not to, and what the delay is already costing. The task is to surface bottlenecks, quantify the resources consumed by legacy systems, and demonstrate the competitive edge that timely action brings. In other words, it's about building a strong business case for modernizing legacy applications. First off, you need to show why it matters. In business terms, The board cares less about the tech stack and more about clear evidence that modernization will boost agility, reduce risk, and cut costs over time. Market benchmarks and case studies show what becomes possible once legacy software is no longer the bottleneck. According to Accenture, organizations that redirect IT spend from legacy maintenance to modernization achieve 30% faster time to market, up to 21% lower annual operational costs, and 2.4 times higher chance of leading in innovation when more than 50% of IT spending goes to modernization. Also, modernized systems show a 40% increase in customer satisfaction rates and a 25% reduction in system downtime. Bilfinger Engineering, an international construction firm, is a good example of how modernization can unlock strategic flexibility. Their goal wasn't just to replace aging tools, they needed to collaborate more fluidly across borders and access the best expertise, regardless of location. To achieve that, they required significant changes in the software used for project budgets, forecasting, and resource management. The challenge was to create one system that could meet all of these needs, maintain a high quality standard, and deliver a better user experience. Working together, we built a single platform that centralizes budgeting, task scheduling, and progress reporting. Project turnaround times fell by 78%. Annual costs dropped by up to €20,000, and the company now has a solid base for further digital expansion. Modernization can deliver significant results, but those results take time to materialize. In the early phases, it's often perceived first as a cost. And cost is one of the most sensitive factors when building a business case for digital transformation. Only about 28% of companies keep their modernization projects within budget, so boards and CFOs are right to be cautious. To win their support, it helps to position modernization as a gradual shift of spend, moving resources from maintenance to growth. Each stage should deliver visible value, lower risk, and make the next step easier to justify. Over time, budget owners can clearly see how modernized systems start to generate returns. But even with funding secured, the success of legacy application modernization ultimately depends on how well teams adapt and engage. 57% of digital initiatives face significant delays because of IT skill shortages, and cultural pushback is still a common blocker. A strong business case needs to address this directly by setting out concrete steps to close skills gaps, involving teams early and building capability along the way. Finally, making the case for modernization becomes much easier when the organization is already looking to adopt new technologies. In many companies, the momentum builds when the board starts asking how AI can be brought into the business, and that ambition quickly exposes the limits of existing systems. 60% of global CEOs now list AI enablement as a top business growth priority. Yet turning that ambition into day-to-day operations rests on the basics: integrated, trustworthy, and accessible data. That is where many legacy systems fall short, so the gap creates a compelling opening for a business case. Once the business case is clear and the organization is aligned, the conversation shifts. It's no longer about why to modernize, but about how to do it in a way that delivers the greatest value while keeping risk under control. There's no single answer. The right approach depends on your architecture, your business goals, your tolerance for risk, and your internal capacity. From what we see in mid-sized and enterprise organizations, three strategies prove the most practical and widely used. The first approach is incremental modernization. This works well when the core system still performs its essential functions, but is too rigid to evolve. In this case, you don't replace the platform, infrastructure, or core architecture outright. Instead, you optimize the existing code to improve performance and operational efficiency while making minimal changes to the critical systems. It lets you modernize in stages, keeping legacy components running while you gradually replace or refactor what no longer serves. That continuity helps reduce risk and avoid disruption. Done well, this approach delivers visible value early, especially when the scope is tightly defined. While ROI varies, many organizations use early wins to build momentum and justify broader change. In practice, teams often begin by exposing key functionality through APIs, refactoring the most fragile components, such as integration or reporting layers, and automating repetitive tasks like testing and deployment. The incremental approach should be your choice when pausing core business operations isn't an option, even for a short time. It's also a good fit when even small changes are slow, risky, or resource heavy. If business teams are asking for new features you can't deliver quickly, or if earlier modernization efforts have stalled because of limited capacity, this approach helps you show progress with the resources you have and build the case for broader change. Making incremental modernization work depends on having the right foundations in place. It's most effective when the system is supported by a modular architecture, lightweight integration layers, versioned APIs, and automated testing. These elements make it possible to change individual parts without destabilizing the whole. In practice, this often means exposing services through REST or GraphQL APIs, decoupling components with event brokers like Kafka or RabbitMQ, and using CI tools such as GitHub Actions or Jenkins to automate testing and deployment. Many teams also bring in external development support early on, not to hand off ownership, but to co-design the roadmap, guide delivery, and build internal capabilities along the way. The right partner helps the team stay in control and gain momentum without creating long-term dependencies. Each step might take a few months, but full transformation can stretch over several years. In practice, teams often plan for 6 to 12 months per phase, depending on scope and complexity. This gradual pace helps reduce disruption, but it also requires careful planning to keep systems aligned over time. As legacy code continues to coexist with newer components, managing interoperability, data consistency, and performance becomes more demanding with each stage and adds coordination costs that accumulate across phases. Another risk is uneven progress. Some components modernize quickly, while others, often the least understood, lag behind. The key to avoiding this is a structured, well-governed process that keeps pace consistent and prevents scope from drifting. That's exactly what we address with Invedo Continuum, a phased modernization approach built to keep systems running while every stage is carefully planned to deliver value and maintain stability. You'll find a link in the episode description if you'd like to see how it works in practice. Okay, let's move on to the second approach, strategic replatforming. This path makes sense when your legacy system isn't failing outright, but the outdated infrastructure it runs on limits your ability to scale, integrate, or move to the cloud. It's about adopting modern architecture patterns without rewriting the core logic from scratch. Replatforming shifts the focus from keeping legacy applications operational to building a more adaptable environment around them. It creates room to reduce infrastructure overhead, streamline delivery, and adopt cloud-native practices at a manageable pace. Organizations typically start by migrating workloads to cloud environments, decoupling storage from compute, and adopting containerization or service-oriented design wherever possible. Legacy components are often wrapped to extend their life, while new parts are built around them. Strategic replatforming is a strong choice if you're planning a cloud migration but need to avoid rewriting core logic. It's also the right fit when your operations team spends more time managing infrastructure than enabling product changes, or when outdated infrastructure and tightly coupled systems are blocking you from adopting new tools, channels, or services. If your team can manage a temporary hybrid setup, on premises plus cloud, and business growth is limited by how quickly you can scale or release, replatforming offers a practical path forward. Making replatforming work starts with a stable core system and enough flexibility to adapt the infrastructure without breaking what's already running. You don't need a fully mapped out cloud strategy at the start, but you do need to know how the modernized system will support delivery, scaling, and system management over time. Technically, that means working with cloud native platforms, container orchestration, such as Kubernetes, CI CD pipelines, and infrastructure as code. Organizationally, it calls for teams that can coordinate across environments, manage dependencies, and adapt existing processes to a more distributed, service based architecture. In many cases, some legacy components will remain in place while new services are introduced in parallel. Managing this hybrid setup works best when the architectural direction is clear from the outset. Timelines for replatforming can vary widely. A smaller lift and shift effort might take 3 to 9 months, while replatforming multiple systems can stretch to 12 to 24 months or more. This approach avoids the disruption of full rebuilds, but it brings its own complexity. If migration happens without refactoring or broader business alignment, legacy inefficiencies often resurface in the new environment, limiting long-term value. Other risks include underestimating data migration, overlooking compliance or security gaps, and incurring unexpected cloud costs without proper cost governance, FinOps. These issues don't disappear, they shift. Careful planning and clear technical ownership are key to keeping the platform stable and manageable over time. And finally, the third approach, complete system transformation. Some outdated systems eventually reach a point where patching no longer works. When the current platform blocks progress, drains resources, and no longer supports what the business needs, a full rebuild can be the only sustainable option. A complete transformation replaces the entire legacy stack with a modern architecture, removing technical constraints and enabling new capabilities from the ground up. This typically involves redesigning the system architecture, reworking core workflows, migrating critical data, and rebuilding the application layers. The work is done in stages, yet with a decisive break from legacy patterns. This approach delivers the greatest long-term value: lower operating costs, better scalability, and full flexibility to evolve. But it is also the most resource-intensive, and the return arrives only once the new system is fully live. Getting there demands time, focus, and alignment across the business. A complete transformation is the right choice when the system can no longer be maintained without excessive cost or risk. It's the right move when technical debt blocks new products, channels, or strategic changes, or when critical knowledge of the system rests with just one or two people who are about to leave. It's also the right path when stakeholders agree that patching around the edges won't deliver what's needed, and when previous attempts at partial modernization have failed or stalled. In short, it's the option for cases where the legacy platform simply can't support the future of the business. A complete transformation requires a committed, cross-functional team and strong product ownership. In complex or time-sensitive environments, bringing in an experienced external partner can help reduce risk and ensure internal teams are ready to take ownership sooner. This approach isn't just about rewriting the code. It involves redesigning the system architecture, reworking core workflows, migrating critical data, and rebuilding application layers, all in a coordinated, staged process. It's a major undertaking that requires alignment across business units, clear priorities, and the resources to see it through. Timelines for a complete transformation are long. In large organizations, a full rebuild can take 2 to 5 years. Because you're building the new system end to end, time to value is measured in years, not months, with most benefits realized only once the entire system is live. Complete rewrites carry the highest risk of failure. Challenges include runaway costs, loss of system knowledge, especially when legacy code is poorly documented, and major disruption during cutover. Organizational resistance and funding constraints are also common. Many leadership teams hesitate to commit upfront, not because the need is unclear, but because the cost of getting it wrong is high. That's why this path is usually chosen only when the legacy platform is no longer viable. If the system is still stable enough to support business continuity, incremental or hybrid options are often the more manageable way forward. No matter which modernization path you choose, one element can't be left until the end, and that's security. In many modernization projects, security is brought in too late. After architectural decisions have been made, environments have been provisioned, and delivery work is already underway. It's often assumed that tooling or the cloud provider will take care of it, that compliance can be handled just before go live, or it simply gets pushed down the priority list under delivery pressure. But security works best when it's embedded from the outset, shaping how systems are designed, delivered, and operated. That shift changes the way modernization unfolds. Access models and system boundaries are set up with real world risks in mind, right from the start. Automated checks run continuously through the delivery pipeline rather than as one off scans at the end. Compliance is built into the delivery flow so it stops being a late stage blocker. And response plans are part of day to day operations, not hidden away in static documents. Bringing security roles in early doesn't slow progress. It reduces rework, clarifies responsibilities, and speeds up resolution when issues arise. It's not about adding bureaucracy, but about ensuring the system performs as expected in real conditions. With built-in security tooling, automated compliance, and resilient incident recovery capabilities, teams can move faster while still meeting policy requirements. Modernizing legacy systems is complex work that can stretch even capable internal teams, not in skill, but in time, capacity, or visibility across systems. Bringing in a technology partner can make sense in several situations. Sometimes it's when the internal team is already at full capacity. If developers are busy managing critical systems, adding a modernization project on top can stretch resources too thin. A partner can help when there are multiple initiatives running at the same time, when integrations are especially complex, or when downtime simply isn't an option. Other times, speed becomes the deciding factor. Market shifts or internal pressure can set timelines that the internal team can't realistically meet. External support is valuable when deadlines are fixed, product or compliance requirements change quickly, or dependencies are holding back progress. And then there's the challenge of unfamiliar territory. Not every team has deep experience with full stack modernization. A partner can add value when you're moving to new platforms, building a modern cloud architecture you'll own going forward, or addressing complex compliance, access, or data risks. Okay, that was a lot to take in. So let's bring it to a close. Whether you lead modernization in-house or with a technology partner, preparation will shape everything that follows. Successful legacy modernization comes down to the quality of decisions. And that depends on asking the right questions and involving the right cross-functional team from the start. If you're at the point where decisions need clarity, not noise, we can help. Through our Inwedo Continuum approach, we start with a practical system assessment to map blockers, risks, and missed opportunities. Then we build a realistic path forward that fits your systems, your team, and your business priorities. You'll find a link in the episode description if you'd like to see how this could work in your own organization. That's all from us today. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch up next time.